4 biggest breakthroughs in cold cases in 2023. Just scary. Did you know that in the last year the murder rate hit almost close to what it was 20 years ago? Shocking, right? Even with these many advancements in technology, it's sad to see that murders are still taking place. But it's not the 1990s anymore. Today, we have the best technology to help us find the culprits easily. Hey guys, welcome back to yet another episode of Just Scary. In this video, we'll go over the 4 biggest breakthroughs in cold cases in 2023. But before we move on, make sure to subscribe to our channel and also hit the bell icon to stay updated. Number 1. Genie Childs. 35-year-old Genie Childs lived in Minneapolis, Minnesota in 1993. She was a sex worker. On June 13th, neighbors from an adjacent unit in Genie's apartment complex complained of bloody water leaking from Genie's residence. Her body was then found in the bathroom shower. She had been stabbed 65 times, mostly around her neck and torso. Investigators found male DNA on Genie's comforter, bathroom towel, and bathroom sink. Other than the DNA, investigators couldn't do much because DNA technology was not that advanced back in 1993. Investigators did not have much to go on. Police called it a difficult case to crack with so few leads and no witnesses at all. In 2018, officials reopened Genie's case, and the break investigators needed soon followed. In 2019, when police matched the DNA from the crime scene to 52-year-old Jerry Westrom with the use of genetic genealogy, he had not been previously a suspect in the case and was married, a father of 2 adult children from Asante, about 40 miles north of Minneapolis. Investigators discovered that he had lived in the Twin Cities area from 1991 to 1993 and had multiple contacts with law enforcement, including a 2016 conviction for solicitation. In 2019, investigators tailed Westrom to a hockey game where he ordered a hot dog from a concession stand. Investigators then collected one of Westrom's discarded napkins and obtained his DNA, which was determined to match the DNA found at the crime scene. He was arrested shortly after that. He long denied having contact with Genie or any other women in all of Minneapolis, claiming he had no idea why his DNA was found at the crime scene. His trial started on August 25, 2022. 56-year-old Jerry Arnold Westrom was found guilty by a Hennepin County jury for taking the life of Genie Childs. Westrom is expected to appear for a formal sentencing hearing in February 2023. And it's expected that he'll be handed a life sentence. Number 2. Nicole Smith. 14-year-old Nicole Smith lived in Atlanta, Georgia in 1995. On June 7th, she and her sister walked to Ralph Bunche Middle School. On the way, Nicole realized she had forgotten something at home. She then headed back alone and went through the woods as it was a shorter path to her house. Sadly, Nicole would never make it back home. In the woods, she encountered a man who indecently assaulted her and then shot her in the face 2 times. Investigators collected male DNA from her body and stored it for later use. Despite the efforts of investigators, they did not find any useful leads in the case, and the case went cold. In 2002, Detective Vincent Velasquez reopened the case and investigated it for 2 years. He was unsuccessful in his quest, but a small breakthrough was made in 2004. A man indecently assaulted 13-year-old Betty Brown of East Point, Georgia. Fortunately, she survived the attack. It happened just miles away from where Nicole's life was taken. Investigators found the same DNA from both attacks, indicating that the attacker most likely lived in the neighborhood. Betty described the suspect as an African-American man, possibly in his 30s. A sketch was made and shared around, but it did not lead to anything. Detective Velasquez worked the case tirelessly, constantly contacting Smith's family, conducting hundreds of interviews and testing over 50 blood samples before he retired in 2017. Detective Scott Demister then took over the case using genealogy and ancestry databases. It took investigators 3 years to find the person of interest. Police did not state the name of the suspect during the press conference. They only said the attacker passed away on August 29, 2021, while in the hospital, curing liver and kidney failure. Nicole's mother said she had been living without closure in the horrific incident for nearly 3 decades. She called the moment bittersweet. and said she's fighting to bring justice one day at a time. Before we move on to the next one, make sure to subscribe if you haven't done it yet. Number 3. Betty Lou. Betty Lou Zakowski lived in Hampton County, Massachusetts in 1966 with her parents, Stanley and Mildred Zakowski. At approximately 6 p.m. on May 26, 1966, Betty Lou left her family home on Front Street in Chicopee right after taking a phone call from someone. She told her mom she was one of her girlfriends. That would be the last time Betty Lou's family saw her alive. When she failed to return home, her parents called the Chicopee Police Department and reported their daughter missing. The police department put out an all-state alarm to find the young girl. Tragically, 4 days later, on Memorial Day, Betty Lou's beaten, mud-covered body was found just offshore by young boys fishing in the Westfield River in West Springfield. The area of the river where the body was discovered ran just next to Robinson State Park in Hampton County, Massachusetts. Approximately a week after Betty Lou's body was recovered, investigators were able to develop a composite sketch from 2 witnesses, one of whom investigators believe to be the last person to have seen Betty Lou alive in the mid-evening hours of the night she went missing. The sketch resulted in numerous investigative tips, but authorities could not identify Betty Lou's assailant before the case went cold. Recently, the district attorney's Unresolved Cases Unit picked up the case and learned the West Springfield Police Department in 1977 linked Donald Mars to the crime. Mars, 17 years old when Betty Lou's life was taken, appeared before a Hampton County Superior Court judge on November 3, 2022 for his arraignment. He is currently held without bond and expected to appear in court again in May 2023. Number 4. Jennifer Brinkman. 19-year-old Jennifer Brinkman lived in Marysville, Washington in 1998 with her father and his girlfriend. Jennifer was described as a social individual who actively sought companionship in people. On March 21, 1998, when Jennifer's father and his girlfriend returned home from a vacation in California, they made a gruesome discovery in Jennifer's bedroom. They found her body. She had been struck in the neck by an axe. The axe was still at the crime scene. Investigators found DNA on the weapon, but limited DNA technology prevented them from finding a match. Looking at Jennifer's electronics, they found that she was active on telephone chat lines and dating sites, trying to meet men. Investigators tracked a few of those men down and interviewed them, but could not prove any of them were responsible, and the case went cold. They then built a family tree of the suspect and finally identified him on November 28, 2022. 52-year-old Jeffrey Paul Primo was arrested and charged with taking Jennifer Brinkman's life by the Maryville Police Department. He was taken to the Snohomish County Jail on a $250,000 bond. The Washington State Patrol Crime Lab said Primo's genetic material matched the DNA found on the axe. They talked about some personal matters, both Jennifer's and the suspects. Despite the letter indicating that the pair had met, Primo denied ever knowing her. In his interview with the police, Primo invoked his constitutional rights after he was arrested and refused to speak. This leaves us without a known motive for the crime. Commander Rob Lemereau was the first detective at the crime scene in 1998 and still leads investigations with the Marysville Police Department. With that, we've come to an end. If you like this video, make sure to give us a thumbs up. We'll meet again in the next video. Until then, stay safe.